Go outside right now in August and look closely at your lavender. You'll see one of two pictures. Either it's just hitting full bloom, or the color is already fading and the bees are moving on. Both pictures lead to the exact same decision right now, and almost every gardener gets that decision wrong. Not slightly wrong, completely wrong. And wrong in two opposite directions that both end in the same dead, hollowed-out shrub, split open in the middle like a bowl with no bottom. One group leaves the shears in the shed because the lavender still looks decent, and cutting it feels like vandalism. The other group grabs the hedge trimmers and cuts it back hard, the way they'd cut back any other shrub in the garden. One of these two groups kills the plant right then and there, instantly and permanently, with a single confident cut. Stay with this because by the end you'll know the exact point where the blade is safe and the exact point where it isn't. That one point is the difference between 20 years of lavender and 6. Drop your lavender type down below: English, French, Spanish, or a big Lavender variety like Grosso or Phenomenal, along with your growing zone. Both change the exact timing for your plant, and that comes back around in a minute. But first, there's a reason this plant breaks the one pruning rule you already know. Because here's what almost nobody explains. Lavender isn't a shrub with occasional movement. It's literally two plants stacked on top of each other. The top half is soft, green growth from this year, flexible and alive. Bottom half is wood, hard, brown, angular, and it grows a little wider every year because that's what happens to aging lavender stems. They lignify from the bottom up, like a candle burning down into its own wax. And here's the part that changes everything. That brown, woody zone is dead ground. Cut into it and nothing comes back. Not in 4 weeks, not next spring. A hydrangea, a lilac, a butterfly bush forgives a hard cut and shrugs it off with a flush of new shoots. Lavender doesn't play by that rule, and treating it like it does is exactly what turns a full, fragrant mound into a scatter of bare, gray knuckles. So the whole job this month comes down to one sentence: find the line between green and brown and stay above it. Everything else is just the fine print. So why August specifically? Because the calendar matters less than what the plant in front of you is actually doing. English lavender usually has its main flush behind it by now and is practically waiting for the cutback. The big Lavender varieties like Grosso, Provence, or Phenomenal keep blooming well into August and sometimes September, so their window is only opening now. Spanish lavender already had its moment back in spring. 3 plants, 3 different clocks. There's also a second clock running in the opposite direction, and it quietly ruins more lavender than anything else. Every cut triggers fresh, soft, new growth, and that growth needs weeks of mild weather to toughen up before the first frost. Cut too late, and those tender shoots get sent straight into the cold, freezing off and weakening the whole plant going into winter. Rule of thumb: count back 6 weeks from your region's average first frost date. Past that point, only deadhead the spent stems and save the real cut for late winter or early spring. Skip the job entirely, and here's what happens. And it's not what people expect. There's no single bad season, no dramatic collapse. It's slower, which is exactly why it sneaks up on people. Every year, a little more of the lower section turns to wood. The green retreats upward like a tide going out. The stems stretch thin and leggy, flowering only at the tips until the middle of the plant caves in, leaving a bare, ugly hole where a green cushion used to be. Properly maintained English lavender typically reaches 10 to 15 years, occasionally 20 under ideal conditions. Neglected, it's often finished in 5 or 6. 1 cut a year is the entire distance between those two numbers. Now for the technique, and here's the part that makes it genuinely satisfying. Nothing gets thrown away because the harvest and the pruning cut are the exact same motion. Cut in the early morning, once the dew has dried but before the sun turns harsh, since the essential oils sit at their most concentrated in that cool window. The ideal moment for each flower spike arrives when roughly 1/3 to half its buds have opened, not once it's already in full bloom. By then, the peak has passed. Take a whole handful of stems at once, follow them down into the green leafy growth until you find a leaf node, the small point where leaves or side shoots branch off. Cut just above it at a slight angle so water sheds off instead of pooling and inviting rot. New side shoots grow from exactly that node, and on healthy, correctly cut English lavender, that one cut often triggers a second, smaller flush of flowers 6 to 8 weeks later. You're not just trimming the plant, you're asking it for more. For quantity, take off roughly a third of the plant. On the big, long-stemmed lavender varieties, up to half is fine. Aim to leave around 2 inches of green above the wood line, no less. Don't cut a flat hedge top. Shape it into a rounded, compact cushion, which keeps the center from splitting open and lets rain and snow slide off cleanly. When you're done, it should still look like a green mound, not a haircut gone wrong. See bare brown sticks poking out the top, and you went too far. No amount of regret brings those back. 2 variety warnings. French lavender, Lavandula dentata with the toothed leaves, doesn't tolerate a hard prune, so go light there. And on the popular phenomenal variety, only cut down to the leafy cushion below the spent flower stems and stop, since it also won't recover from a cut into leafless wood. Use sharp bypass pruners, never the crushing anvil kind, and never kitchen scissors, and wipe the blades with alcohol between plants so disease doesn't hitch a ride. And leave a few flower spikes standing, not for looks, but for the bees still working them in the last real nectar rush of the August garden. Now, the question people wait too long to ask: what if yours is already woody, bare, and split open in the middle? Get close and look for tiny green shoots emerging from the old brown wood. Find any and trim that one branch back by about a third. Then wait 4 to 6 weeks. New growth means it made it, and you can cut it out at the base without guilt. For a heavily woody plant, work branch by branch over 2 or 3 seasons instead of cutting the whole thing back hard in one confident afternoon. That single afternoon is exactly the cut that finishes a lavender off for good, dressed up as a rescue. 3 more things to leave alone. No fertilizer, especially nitrogen-heavy, since that pushes soft, lush leaf growth at the expense of flowers and leaves the plant floppy. No extra watering for established lavender, since wet roots, not cold and not pests, are the single most common way this plant dies. And no mulch piled against the woody crown, since it traps moisture exactly where the plant can least afford it. If you mulch at all, use gravel or coarse grit, kept clear of the stems. So who actually benefits from this one distinction? Green versus brown, almost never getting explained clearly. Partly the generic care guides that copy one universal pruning rule across every shrub in the garden, because that's faster to write than carving out an exception. Partly plain convenience. Someone sees a hard cutback work beautifully on a rose or a hibiscus and applies the exact same move to lavender without checking whether the rule still holds. Nobody sells you a dead lavender on purpose, but nobody profits from teaching you the one unglamorous rule that makes a replacement purchase unnecessary for a decade. A blanket pruning calendar is quicker to write than an explanation of why this one subshrub plays by different rules, and that small exception gets buried under the flood of generic advice almost every time. Go outside now. Kneel down in front of the lavender. Run your fingers along the stem until you feel exactly where the green ends and the brown begins. Cut above that line, never below it. Everything else is detail hanging off one decision. That single line is the difference between the same green mound greeting you 15 August from now and bare dirt where you'll be planting something new in 6.